Hi, I'm Chike Coleman. This is Row Reviews, the Cinematic Underground, the show where we talk about movies that are new in theaters and stuff that's on DVD, and occasionally some TV shows. And this week we'll be covering a lot of things. Fast 7, Ebertfest 2015, just in case you want to go to that, and also a few other nice surprises. Now, Chuck Kaplinski will be joining us later to talk about Fast 7, but for right now, I'm going to give you my take on Fast 7, which is, I'm sorry, not Fast 7, Furious 7. They keep changing the titles to these films so much so that I forget the titles. So Furious 7 stars Vin Diesel, the late Paul Walker, Jordana Brewster, and a bunch of other people, including Jason Statham, The Rock, and it's just an amazing, amazing film about those people that you grew up with in the Fast and Furious franchise, now going on to do something even more interesting, which is to take down the brother of the bad guy from the sixth film. This is a good film, not great, but it's a good film by James Wan. James Wan is not the usual director behind the Fast and Furious franchise. That honor belongs to Justin Lin, who dropped out of the film to direct Star Trek III. James Wan is mostly known as a horror director for The Conjuring and its follow-up sequel, as well as the Saw franchise, and being a producer of those films. Furious 7 has some interesting elements that continue on that journey of making the film basically what amounts to being a capture and kill film, essentially. And there's something that's both interesting and boring about that concept at the same time. We've seen that concept done in this franchise better before. Not only that, but really the reality is, not only have we seen it before, we know these characters kind of inside and out, and that's what makes this film both familiar and entertaining. There's a bunch of really great action scenes. I can't say car chases anymore because they don't have those anymore, apparently, in the Fast and Furious franchise. However, what is engaging is the relationships between Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, The Rock, and Vin Diesel. All those relationships really work well. And I will say that the fight scenes between Tony Jaa and Paul Walker, Ronda Rousey and Michelle Rodriguez are really the standout scenes of the movie. But the real strength is that family theme that was running through Fast 6. That really comes full circle here, and Paul Walker turns in a wonderfully endearing performance, and you really couldn't tell, at least for me, that Paul Walker's face had been motion captured onto his brother's. It was pretty seamless for me. Now that Chuck Kaplinski has arrived, Chuck, what did you think of Furious 7?
Gave me a headache.
Gave you a headache.
It was the movie that did not want to end. You cannot argue that. I mean, that whole last sequence in Los Angeles was a ridiculous movie in and of itself. It did not want to end. Obviously, employing any sense of logic to a film like this is superfluous, so I won't, you know. It's supposed to be... these movies are B-grade drive-in films with huge budgets, and that's what they are. And things like gravity and logic and physics have no place here, and I get that to a certain extent. But it's just sometimes I'll give these films enough rope, but still they want more. This one is completely and totally ridiculous. And they make, I think, some key errors. One of them being not giving The Rock nearly enough time.
Yeah.
He has a scene at the beginning, he's got a scene at the end, and that's a problem. Because I think he's the only one who strikes the right tone in these films. Diesel and all those other guys are way too serious. We're too serious about this. Rock, though, you know, he says these BS, horribly written lines in such a way that he's winking at us as he does it and saying, can you believe this crap? Well, come on, let's have some fun. I think he's the only one who really has the right attitude about all this, and having him only at the beginning and the end is a huge mistake. I love the fact that they're going through all this crap to get the program, this God's Eye program,
Which is a
in
MacGuffin,
order to track down the Jason Statham character. They don't need it. He's always there.
Yeah.
Wherever they're at, whether in the mountains of Western Europe, whether they're in Dubai, whether they're in Los Angeles, he's there. They don't need this. You just stand around and wait. He's going to come.
Right.
So that's completely stupid. I don't know. Again, you can't be too rough in these movies because they are stupid. Everyone knows they're stupid. People love them. But, I mean, it's in my mind, it went way past the ridiculous meter here into, you've got to be kidding me. I mean, where's the Air Force? You got the Jumanji Hensoon riding around Los Angeles with this helicopter blowing crap up. Where's the Air Force that would have come in and blown them away?
There too.
You know, the Air Force would have blown them away. And what's this whole thing with the car at the end that goes through the parking garage up to, that's crap. And are you telling me that Jason Statham was still alive after having a huge piece of parking deck fall on his chest?
Which is what I was freaking out about. I'm like, how is he alive after that? You don't even prove that he's alive. You just show him going to the jail.
No, he's alive. He talks.
True.
So, you know, again, they're ridiculous. I get it. But don't insult me. Kurt Russell was a great addition.
Yeah, he really was.
Kurt Russell is always a great addition.
Tony Jaa as well.
Tony Jaa is great too. Yeah, those sequences in the bus with Walker were, I think, probably the best fighting sequences in the film. 5 remains the pinnacle for me of this series. It hadn't gotten too outlandish at that point. The scheme that they had to rip the vaults out of the banks in Rio de Janeiro and dragging them around, I thought was incredible. For me, 5 is the apex of this series.
To me, 4 is the apex of the series for me. I like 4 a lot because they went back to street racing.
They do, yeah, they do. I will give you that. They do go back to its roots.
And they didn't forget about what Brian O'Connor's backstory was, which is he's a freaking FBI agent.
Right.
Which they completely throw away in the next 3 films.
But in the 5th one, they're on the run.
True.
So I can forgive them that. So,
right.
But, you know, obviously there's going to be another. And,
it's going to take a while, they
that's
say.
a shame.
For me, the whole reason I wanted to see this film was for Paul Walker. I wanted to see how good the film was going to be with him in it and whether I was going to feel anything. And I did feel a lot of genuine sadness and emotional pull every time something was about to happen.
The epilogue that they had in tribute to him, I thought, was very, very well done.
I agree.
Very, very well done. And I wish that the rest of the film had been that thoughtful.
I agree with you, but I don't agree with you because, again, as you say, it's one of those movies where you gotta shut your brain off.
Again, but don't insult me.
True. The next thing I wanted to talk about with you especially is we're at Ebertfest 2015. You and I have been shooting the breeze about what we thought was going to happen, and now we're here. And what are your general thoughts on Ebertfest? I know we've got to talk about a couple of films that we've already seen so we can give the audience a good idea of what's coming, but...
I'm pretty disappointed in it. And I guess that's an unfair statement to make, seeing as how there are many of the films that I have not seen yet. But there's very few of them that, upon initial impression, strike me to want to run out and see them. In my mind, it just seems to be I know that they say that character studies seem to be the recurring theme here. But as I say, there's only really a couple that I might go see. I really wish that they would go back to the original intent of the festival, which was to talk about overlooked films, both in the past and, you know, to shine a light on films that are coming out that they think might be overlooked. I think they'd be much better off that way. But what do I know?
This is going to be kind of one of those biting the hand that feeds you, since we both do have press passes this year.
Yeah.
But they really, like you said, they this is going to be rough for me to say, but Ebertfest has kind of jumped the shark. I feel like they went way more current than they actually necessarily needed to this year.
Many of the films. I mean, I haven't looked, but are they all about 5 years old, if that?
Yeah, pretty
much. Except for Bronx Tale?
Except for, yeah.
And The Silent, of course.
What about Goodbye to Language? Is that within the last 5?
That's new. That premiered at Cannes.
Jeez.
Yeah, no, it's 2014.
Okay. So here's my thing. We've made up our dream list, you and I, off air, off camera, about what we think Ebertfest should be in Ebertfest. I would love to see like Wong Kar-wai's In the Mood for Love shown at Ebertfest. I would love to see there's so many things. Do a series of Buster Keaton films with the Alloy Orchestra playing in the background. Something that really kind of gets people engaged in silent film. Here's how bad I think it is. I wouldn't be surprised if next year they show. I think they already did show The Artist one year, didn't they?
I don't know if they have or not. I don't think so.
But I wouldn't be surprised if that happens at some point.
My biggest problem with this is that they have the capability to show 70 millimeter films, and not very many theaters have that capability anymore. And I know they used to start every festival with a 70 millimeter film because it's an overlooked format. And this is the precursor to IMAX. Why they don't do that anymore is beyond me. And particularly what I would like to see is a film called The Big Trail, which was made in 1930, in which they were experimenting with 70 millimeter film at that point. It was supposed to make John Wayne a star. And it flopped at the box office because many theaters weren't able to convert to the projectors they would need to show the 70 millimeter film because so many theaters had already spent money to convert to sound, which was only a couple years old. It is an overlooked film in an overlooked format. I know they have a pristine copy at UCLA. I would love to see that, especially in the setting of the Virginia. I
would agree. That would be a fascinating and wonderful film to take a look at. For me, if you wanted to go old, and we always joke about how young I am, I would love to see any of the Abbott and Costello horror feature comedies shown at Ebertfest. Or if you really wanted to go into my real wheelhouse, I would love to see Out of the Past with Robert Meacham shown at Ebertfest. Or Murder, My Sweet with Dick Powell and Anne Shirley.
Out of the Past, interesting that you mentioned that. That was just released on Blu-ray this week.
Was it really?
Yep. Great film.
Great film. Absolutely wonderful film. So let's turn to this year's crop of films. We've got Goodbye to Language in 3D, which, again, surprised me because I didn't think Ebertfest would ever want to do anything related to 3D.
But it's Godard. I mean, Jean-Luc Godard, one of the most influential filmmakers of the last half century. I mean, you have to have that, and I think that would be one that I would actually check out, even though many times his films boggle my mind.
We've got a bunch of films. I'm going to go out of order because I can't memorize the slate from back to front here. So there's Ida from this year.
Which we both loved. I think it was both on our top 10 list.
Right, and I heard she's coming to Ebertfest, but I don't know if that's confirmed.
Has not been announced yet, but I believe the director is?
The director is, yes. But I also heard from a friend that she might be coming, which would absolutely make my day. There is the Bronx.
Bronx Tale.
Bronx Tale.
Chaz Palminteri. That originated as a one-man show.
Did it really?
That he wrote and performed off-Broadway. Robert De Niro heard about it, saw it, and decided that this film would be his directorial debut. I would have loved to have seen, I know Palminteri does it every once in a while, still is a one-man show in which he plays every character. Story of a mobster, a neighborhood mobster, played by Palminteri in the film, and Robert De Niro, who is a blue-collar guy, keeps his nose to the grindstone, drives a city bus. And De Niro's son is kind of torn between his dad and this mobster who has taken a shine to him. And, the film is just basically about which path this boy is going to follow. As far as being influenced by these two men. I've seen this multiple times. Very poignant film. If there's one I'm going to this year, it is going to be this one because I love Palminteri, and I would hope that afterwards he talks about the transition of this from a one-man play to a feature film.
That is going to be a fascinating conversation, I can tell you that much, because Palminteri is very much loved by those who enjoy, the Robert De Niro mob movies. I mean, he was in, I believe, Goodfellas and Casino?
No, he wasn't in either one.
He wasn't in either one?
No.
Where do I know him from? I feel like I've seen him so many times.
Usual Suspects.
That was one.
He had a guest starring role on Modern Family.
That I remember too because
He's one of
Nathan Lane's friends, I believe.
no, he's one of the guy who is married to Sofia Vergara, one of his old friends.
Oh, wait, that's right.
They go golfing and
Right, I remember now. Okay. So there's that. There's also Girlhood this year.
which I know nothing about.
From 2014. Directed by Celine Sciamma. And it says in the plot line, oppressed by her family's setting, dead-end school prospects, and the boys' law in the neighborhood, Marime starts a new life after meeting a group of 3 free-spirited girls. She changes her name, her dress code, and quits school to be accepted in the gang, hoping that this will be a way to freedom. It feels a little bit like Havoc, starring Anne Hathaway, except instead of the girl trying to get into a gang actually that does, except in Havoc, what we had was Anne Hathaway's character who's rich, wanting to be part of a different culture and a different lifestyle. Did you see Havoc from 2005?
Nope.
It has Amanda Seyfried in it as well, I believe.
She must be about 10 in there.
And it's basically about a rich girl trying to find her way into a different lifestyle. And this is seeming like the same thing, except it's a poor person trying to move up and find the support she lacks, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that feels like to me. In addition to Girlhood and Ida, we also have, I'm trying to remember all these off the top of my head.
Back to Chaz Palminteri, you may have remembered him from Bullets Over Broadway, the Woody Allen film.
Yeah,
that's... He plays the mobster who actually writes plays, but does not think anyone will take him seriously. And, but he acts as a beard, or he gets John Cusack as a beard to get his plays performed. Really a fun little film.
Yeah, that's where I remember him
Wild
from.
Tales is going to be at the festival as well. Again, I understand why it's there, but it was just at the Art Theater a couple of weeks ago. And when they announced that, I couldn't help but think of the recent plane crash that occurred, and whether this was in fact a tasteful selection or not, if you know the beginning of that film. That would hit a bit too close to home.
Yeah, it hit a bit too close to home for me as well. There's also the end of the tour, which is the film surrounding the writer who, I believe he's from, is that right, Danville?
David Foster Wallace. He was from Bloomington.
Bloomington. Oh, I think I did.
And he committed suicide a couple years back.
And so they made a biopic on his life or last days.
This is about a book tour that he has with a writer from Rolling Stone. And the writer is played by Jesse Eisenberg. So the last tour refers to this last book tour that they're at and focuses on the relationship between these two.
Okay, because I hadn't seen any trailers or anything about that, even though I knew he was cast. Which is bizarre because I was hoping that it would get a wider release and it hadn't. So
it hasn't been released yet.
It hasn't even been released?
It's coming out this summer. So they're getting it ahead of time. It has been released at Sundance and a couple other film festivals, but it's not in wide release yet. So this is definitely a sneak preview. It will also be at the Chicago Film Critics Film Festival, which is the first week of May in Chicago.
Okay. There's also the Motel Life with Stephen Dorff. I don't know much about that film either. It says that basically
he and his brother, I think his brother is played by Emil Hirsch.
Yes.
They're living on the fringes of society, living in motels, looking for jobs anywhere that they can find. So it's very much a hard-bitten look at modern poverty.
It sounds intriguing.
Sounds intriguing. I know it didn't get a wide release. I think it played in New York and L.A. Before going straight to video.
There's also a tribute to Harold Ramis that is going to be on the first night with Goodbye to Language, the Godard film.
Right. There are rumors running around that people are claiming that Bill Murray is going to show up for that. I will believe it when I see it.
I don't even know if I buy that.
Yeah. That would be quite a coup.
But Erica Ramis, Harold Ramis' wife, will be in attendance, as well as Trevor Albert and Laurel Ward, which I'm assuming are people that he worked closely with or actors in his films.
I believe producers that worked with him on his films.
Producers. Okay. The silent film this year is going to be The Son of the Sheik.
Rudolph Valentino?
Which I actually watched recently, and I love that one.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for for people to experience that film.
And that'll be a lot of fun.
99 Homes, Raman Barani, who seems to be the
go-to guy, cornerstone of Ebertfest.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yes.
Him and Tilda are close tied.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, those are going to be the films of Ebertfest. There's also going to be Seymour and Introduction with Seymour Bernstein and Andrew Harvey, who's an activist, both in attendance on Sunday, and that's the 11 a.m. show.
It's a documentary made by Ethan Hawke. His first film, actually. He's a piano teacher that Hawke had met at a dinner party, actually. And he also, earlier in his career, Bernstein was a concert pianist who suffered from extraordinary stage fright. Mm-hmm. And he and Hawke talked about that, apparently, and really struck up a relationship because Hawke suffers from stage fright when he's on the stage doing plays. Mm-hmm. Bernstein then finally put that aside and became a teacher. And so that's really what the documentary is about. I'd love to see them to pull off a surprise appearance by Ethan Hawke, too.
Which I think is actually surprisingly likely, considering...
I think it's more likely than Bill Murray.
Yeah.
Especially seeing as how this is the first film he's directed, I would think he would really want to
be there
on hand for that.
To show it off, yeah. I want to talk briefly about a couple things that we've been watching. I've been watching a lot of Better Call Saul. Did you happen to get to episode 10?
I've seen them all.
So now that we've finished the entire season, what do you think?
I really liked it. I think it requires a bit of an adjustment, requiring pace. This show really does move very deliberately. Mm-hmm. And I like that. It's a nice change to everything that tends to blur by. And I think that's a reference to, I think, probably the other show you want to talk about. But also, I love the characters. Mm-hmm. I like the twists that it took because they don't seem like twists. They seem like logical conclusions to the stories that they put out. I can't remember the actress's name, but the blonde-haired actress who seems to be
Rhea something.
Yeah, in his corner. I really like her
Rhea
too.
Seehorn, actually.
Rhea Seehorn, yeah, she's very good. So, they were really playing with fire to try and come up with any sort of spin-off to something as widely praised as Breaking Bad. But quite frankly, I guess the biggest praise I can give it is that I'm disappointed it was only 10 episodes to begin with. Yeah. Because I really wanted more.
Did you have a favorite moment from the season?
My favorite moment was probably the billboard sequence.
I like the billboard sequence.
Yeah,
that was pretty funny, though.
We see, if you know what I'm referring to, I think we at that point see the first. That's the first side, I think, of the Saul that we know from Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
the guy who does whatever he wants to do in order to get the attention he needs, and is not above, messing with the morals of those involved as well.
Well, as you know, the last time we spoke about Better Call Saul, we talked about Mike and Mike's episode where we finally learned about what forced him to come to New Mexico.
His assistant, yes.
Yeah. But that's actually surprisingly not my favorite thing. My favorite thing comes from episode 9, the reveal of who really is behind Jimmy's...
being prevented from being a partner.
Prevented from being a partner, prevented from being a full-fledged lawyer.
Yeah.
And, man, not only is that heartbreaking, but it's riveting to watch what happens, what conspires between him and the person who's causing the pain.
Well, and like I say, it seems like a twist, but then in retrospect, it's like, that makes complete sense.
Dead obvious, yeah. Well, yeah. How could we not see it? Did you catch it on early or no?
No. And I think it's also due to the fact of the actor who played the head of the law firm, who was the one who was always seemingly delivering the bad news. Yeah. Well, he was delivering the bad news and seemed to be behind it. Mm-hmm. He was so convincing that it was like, obviously. That's
Patrick Fabian. I was first introduced to the actor in Saved by the Bell, the college years, and he was again in Veronica Mars.
Okay.
So, he's a very good character actor.
Do you have any idea when this is coming back? I hope they don't make us wait a year after only giving us 10.
I don't know. Yeah. I have no idea. I wish I had a better answer for you. The Flash is another thing I want to talk about. We're talking about Out of Time, I believe, is the newest episode. And we got a really huge discovery this week. Not only is Professor Dr. Wells,
yes.
the time traveler, Ebertfest, but he really, it's a face-off situation, really.
It is him, yeah. Through some weird future technology, his appearance, and his physical appearance has been sucked into
Ebertfest.
Yeah,
actual Ebertfest.
Weird stuff, but I loved it.
Yeah, and I love the actor who actually plays Ebertfest, not Tom Cavanaugh, but the other actor. He was the villain in Mask of Zorro.
Yes, that's correct.
And so, yeah, he proved very convincing in the little bit of screen time he had, and I hear he's making a comeback later this season, as well as I know in the season finale we'll get Firestorm, Arrow, and Flash all in the same place.
And I believe the Atom as well will make an appearance.
Yeah, the Atom as well will be making an appearance.
And I believe that episode, the next episode, is called All-Star Team Up, which is a reference to a comic book in which Golden Age heroes teamed up. So, yeah, and I forgot. I mean, I thought it was on this past Tuesday, and I forgot it wasn't, and I was crushingly disappointed.
Yeah, so was I. So was I.
I cannot wait till Tuesday. It's one of the few shows that everyone in the family will sit around and watch. That's another reason why I watch it.
And Gotham, I heard, is losing a cast member. Well, I know one is confirmed to be gone, but I don't know if there's another one in addition to that person leaving.
Yeah, I mean, that one's been pretty well publicized. I mean, the performer has even come out and said so.
Yeah.
So not really a surprise. I got to tell you, they need to right that ship quick.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed, I've read that they are already talking about introducing 3 more villains either before the end of this season or in season 2. And
yeah. And with Harvey Dent becoming a main character next season,
it's got to stop being villain of the week. I mean, we've got to start heading towards, I don't know, something more character-based in which we actually delve into the characters we have.
Yeah, and I think that was the worry I had. Okay, you're giving us all these comic book villains, but you're not giving us these character moments that make
and villains that haven't even been developed yet.
Yeah. And I hear they're bringing in Mr. Freeze, which I want them to pull off the Heart of Ice storyline that they used in Batman the Animated Series, but I know it's too early for that. Maybe show us how Freeze fell in love with his wife?
Well, yeah, I think we have to meet her in order to have any sort of sympathy with him. But also I've heard they're doing Clayface.
Which I don't know how that would work.
Yeah, it's going to be quite something if they can pull that off.
Do you watch Mad Men at all?
I do not, and I know it's something I should, but no.
Okay. What do you want to cover next week? Is there a film that really is speaking to you right now?
I saw a neat movie called Danny Collins that I think we should talk about.
Yeah, I just saw that was going to be at Savoy this weekend.
Yeah, I would like that. And if it's still around, Kamiko, the Treasure Hunter. I saw that last night. Very interesting.
Okay. And we'll also be talking about Marvel's Daredevil next week.
Yes, I believe that premiered last night.
It did, April 10th, yeah. All the episodes were released at once. I'll be watching the first episode, Into the Ring, this week.
Yep.
So until then, next time, I'm Chike Coleman. You can find all of Chuck Kaplinski's work at thenewsgazette.com or the IllinoisTimes.com. You can find my work at wheelchairwatcher.com, and you can contact me through chikec8@gmail.com. if you have movie film suggestions of things you'd like us to review. Until next time, I'm Chike Coleman. That's Chuck Kaplinski. We will see you next week. Bye.